Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Bhagavan Radha Krishna Prastayate.
Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine,
Siddhaswarupananda, Radha Krishna Prastayate. Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayana, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayana,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayana, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayana.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Guru Ranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Guru Ranga.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Vasudeva
Jaya Jaya Shri Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Shri Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa.
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Madana Mohana.
Para Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Para Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Para Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Para Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Hari Bol Krishna, Hari Bol Krishna.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol Krishna.
Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Hari Bol Krishna, Hari Bol Krishna.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Hari Bol Krishna, Hari Bol Krishna.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Krishna,
Madana Mohana,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Hari Bol Krishna, Hari Bol Krishna, Hari Bol. Gopala Govinda Rama, Mohana. Kupala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Kupala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Hari Bol, Hari Bol Krishna. Kupala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Shiva Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Shiva Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namne Gora Karuna Swarupaya Hare Krishna Prestayate.
To recap what we have discussed yesterday, the subject matter is about scientific or the process that we learn the science of devotional service. So what is science? It is wisdom and a formula that we engage in or perform that we derive a certain result. So to be very concise and very direct, I'll give analogies that can be connected with what we will be discussing and what we have discussed previously. If you look at the desert, for example, in a certain area in this desert area, but there is a time that the desert experience rainfall, and then where it's low land and there's a possibility, or it's possible to contain water. So during rainy season, this desert land, this vast prairie, is able to contain water that has been given by the rain. So it gives relief to all the pals, the living creatures, the aborigines who are around. It gives them a great relief because it's cool, and not only that, there's life and a place where life can stay. So, after some times, that oasis of water that is temporarily contained in this prairie, what happens is that during summer season, the heat, due to condensation, it evaporates. The water evaporates, and then it becomes a desert again. So it gives so much pain, the heat, and not only that, it's not a place anymore for the fowls, the birds, the insects, the aborigines to stay because it cannot sustain life anymore. So this world is also like a desert. And when the living entity, us, tries to find happiness in the desert through sensual enjoyment, what happens is the flickering sensual enjoyment we taste is very temporary. And then, at the end, we feel empty-hearted. We have an empty heart. Our activities that we all do becomes an environment of an oppressive desert which is very hot. So the living entity who comes to this world, us, when we try to live in this desert, this lifeless place, and try to pursue fulfillment and happiness, then we experience the pangs and the pain of experiencing this scorching heat of the desert. So, we come in contact with the representative of God who teaches us the absolute truth. And what is that truth? It is about our true nature, life, a different energy from matter. So obviously and definitely, we cannot be satisfied with matter. But we can try to find fulfillment, but that fulfillment will not last and is very flickering, temporary. So while the living entity, us, we are traveling in this universe through this material machine, if we don't have this understanding of the science of pure devotional service or the science of love of God, wherein we can direct our life in harmony with the source of happiness, the source of pleasure, the source of joy, then this body we have, activities we do, we're like living in the desert. Literally and figuratively. And the symptoms are there. We experience emptiness, the heart. We experience sadness, confusion, and pain connected to this body. And just like in the desert, the scorching heat gives so much pain to the living entity. That's why they leave the desert. They roam around and look, but without proper guidance, where to go, what to do. The probability, it's probable that they can find a place that there's water. But because what we are discussing here is the science of the soul and the super soul and the cause of all causes, the supreme soul, the personality of Godhead. If we have done wisdom, how to be guided to get out of this desert environment, then it's very hard. That's why here in the material world, if you want to travel to a certain place, it's very safe to go to these companies or group that offers traveling guides, tourist guide. So when we want to go to a certain country, to a certain place, we will be guided by them. Where to go, what to see, where to stay, and be safe, and enjoy our tour. But if we try to get out of this desert by our own formula, without wisdom and knowledge about our true nature and our true function, then we're doomed to fail. We will just be roaming around with no direction into oblivion. So I'll read here the importance of having wisdom or knowledge about this science. And just like when we go touring to another country as tourists, we go to a tourist company that guides us, and they are able to deliver what we see they're offering us. The country, the culture, the people, their products, the environment. Then, guided by them, they give us, they give us ticket. So it's obvious that if you want to go to Australia, the ticket that they're gonna give you is ticket going to Australia, and the plane goes to Australia. But just like here in the Philippines, so many instances, there's a lot of, because we are in a third world country, everyone wants to experience and have relief, to have some economic development. And there's a lot of scam going around. They're putting up job agency, that you can go to a certain place, But there is also an institution that guides to check if these agencies that gives us this promise of job outside of the country, if they're real. So we can just check through SEC to the Department of Labor, then they'll give us, they're real. So it means everything we do, if we are not guided by the proper agency, what will happen is what happened here in the Philippines for so long, just like in any other country. They're in the airport waiting, but the ticket is fake. Or even though the ticket is not fake, they arrive, the job is not there. And then what happens? Because they have no visa to work, they're deported back to the country where they came from. So it's very simple. In layman's term, this science can be understood, this devotional science can be understood under the guidance of the instructing spiritual master and the bona fide spiritual master, who are representatives of the Supreme Person, ambassador. Just like when the ambassador of Australia comes here. I have never been to Australia. When I was young, I see this kangaroo with a pouch and a baby kangaroo. They carry that, they hop. And I see, a bushland, desert land, they call it backcountry, with all the variety of snakes that can kill you, And since I've never been there, the ambassador of Australia comes and he tells us, he gives us guidance. He gives us, now it's very easy because he's just bringing a flash drive, or through the internet, he can just open up and see, oh, this is Australia. And I am the ambassador appointed by the Prime Minister. And if you want to go there, this is the process. You apply for a visa, show all your taxes, your work. So if you go there, you won't be a burden for the taxpayers' money there that they'll be doling out for you. If you have no job, they don't want scavengers and, individuals who just go there, waiting for dole out and not working and helping the economy, but rather putting a pressure to the economy because you will be given budget for your survival. So they won't allow you to go there. They're very strict. Even though your body is white, I've seen a lot of my friends, not really, who are in, from another country, Britain. They go to Australia, they marry an Australian. But the problem, they divorce. And after that, they're found to be illegal alien. They're deported. So it's very strict. So he gives us guidance, how we can be in an environment that can assist us, help us to have a wholesome life. That's what they're telling us. So my point is, we must follow someone who is a bona fide representative of God. Just like if we want to go to Australia, we must follow the system that is legal according to their constitution. So it's very simple. It's a scientific process of following rules and regulation, just like also science that we follow in devotional service to achieve a relationship with the Supreme Person. So the first process is hearing. When we hear the holy names of the Supreme Person, it purifies our heart. Mantra meditation. Mantra means the mind, to control the mind. So what puts us in a situation wherein we are always suffering? We are now directed by the mind, and the mind is so engrossed in focus, in meditation upon this dead world. And our motivation to find happiness is the desire-driven consciousness based upon materialism, based upon lust, and the focus for our unlimited craving for real happiness is now directed upon this temporary world, which is a different energy from us. It's very simple. So now, I'll read to you here the teachings of Scripture and the effects of following this process. One time, years back, about almost 4 decades, I was with my spiritual master. And then many of us were given the opportunity to be given instruction, to be guided, how we can have a wholesome, pleasing relationship with God, and our affection becomes stronger by following the process of purification that will connect us with God's pleasure, especially the glorification of the holy names of God, because it's connected about His pastimes, His glories. So I'll cite you to instances that applies to us, that we can see that if we fall and follow these pitfalls that is completely diametrically opposed to the science of pure devotional service, then we will fail, and it will give sadness to Lord Krsna and our Gurudev. So after initiation, my spiritual master tells us this process begins with practicing devotional service, sadhana bhakti, or devotional service in practice, to cultivate this garden in our heart, this empty garden that has been covered with tangled vines, that it has become so hard that it's now very vague, and there's divisiveness, a wall that we cannot experience that love and relationship that is very sweet, that will give fulfillment to us, because we have been so engrossed. So I'll cite one example again, just like my teacher gives an example of a turtle. You know, this tiny turtle is in the desert because we're turtle pace. All of us, we walk slowly, in spiritual life. So the turtle, he's very happy in the temporary lagoon that is in the desert. But summer comes, the water evaporates, there's condensation, all the water goes back, being pulled back, goes to the clouds, becomes clouds. But because it's summer, it will not rain there. It will rain in other place, because the earth moves around, Sometimes people they say, oh, the cloud has covered the sun. No, the cloud covers our eyes so we cannot see the sun. The cloud can never go to the sun. It will evaporate because it's an element of water that evaporates when it comes in contact with fire. So back to the point. So the turtle, he stays there and summer comes. So all the mud, because he's slow moving, and all while the water is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. All the fish every there, most of them dies. And the elephant comes there, look for water, trample on the water and the mud, and after some times, this turtle is left alone. He cannot move anymore because the sun has dried the mud around him. It has become petrified. You know what's petrified? Have you seen, you go to a cave, diba? There's stalagmites. All the minerals become solid. So now the mud has been solidified around his shell. He cannot move. He cannot move. He can hardly breathe. His eyes is covered with mud. And he wants relief, but he cannot move because he is now in the desert sun. While he is there, all the predators are there, who comes out of the different hole around that lake that is dried up. The crocodile, the giant lizard, the snakes, and all around the hyenas howl, looking for prey to eat. And now he saw prey. So, if someone who's a traveler comes going to the direction where he's traveling and pass by that lake and it's dried up, he sees this turtle. Poor thing, I'm gonna help him. But because the mud is petrified, solidified around the shell, he cannot move. So what happens is that when the spiritual master or the turtle, the person who wants to help him tries to breaks down the petrified mud, immediately he tries to snap, bite. He tries to resist. There's resistance. But he cannot see that the person is trying to help him take away all the mud that has petrified around his shell so he can walk. And not only that, that person can bring him to the place where he will travel he's going to walk and travel that will be a place where there's water and an environment that is suitable for his survival. But in the beginning, when the mud is being taken out, he bites. Why are you hurting me? No? Why are you hurting me? Don't hurt me. He doesn't know that danger is there and he's traveling and he wants to help him take out all the mud, carry him, and bring him to a safety place. So our situation is also like that. For so long, we have been in this material world, we have become attached to the fruits of the desire in the mind. And that is those fruits, the taste, although it's not really fulfilling, it's flickering, it has become the source of our happiness. And we try to cling to it. Because now our love has been misdirected, our focus has been misdirected, because we don't know the science that can help us connect with the Supreme Person. Just like here, in this world. Through sense perception, a young boy sees a young girl. I want her. That young girl passes by. He sees the eyes. He smells the perfume. He contemplates. He hears the musical voice, and try to imagine in his mind the happiness while he's working. This young lady will be singing lullaby through his ears, and also try to direct his love and protect her, comfort her. Then after a while, because of trying to play surrogate God, I will protect you. And that person also is looking for someone to be protected, to give her love. And it seems there's something wrong. They divorce. And then that person experienced separation from the source of happiness connected with the sense perception that has been in actual experience when he's able to have that person. Now she lives. But the mind, the desire is there. And the mind tells you again, maybe the second time around will be better, sweeter, And then somebody comes again. Wow, you're so lovely. I think, will you marry me? Then after some time, another sad story again. And that person lives for someone or dies. Then the mind tells you, if it's sweet in the beginning, and the second time you tried, maybe it's sweet, the third time it will be sweeter. Then you go again and again and again. And the time clicks, tick, 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 tick. You have only a certain amount of time in this body. So now, we have given this opportunity to have this body to come in contact with a person who is able to teach us this science. So, to make the story short, the reason I want to discuss this is that we must follow the science of devotional service under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. So back to the case I wanted to discuss. So some of my God sister, they neglected the instruction. Instead of following the instruction, they followed someone who is himself not understanding the science of devotional service. In scripture, they're called sahaji. They take everything cheaply and they don't follow scriptures. So what she did and influence others, she now tells everyone, because she became an impersonalist. Not only that, she is telling now, you don't need to follow the science because you can go directly to God through this imagination and osmosis that you're there and experiencing this pleasure that you are Radha, you are Krishna. So what happened? She influenced all these people, and many of those who follows this path that is completely obnoxious, completely bizarre, because it's based upon false bodily identification, based upon envy of God. So what happened? The science that they're thinking will lead them to closer to God has now becomes the stumbling block. So what happens? The fruits of their action, the science they followed, the system, because there's science that's absolute and transcendental. But now this science of materialism and pseudo-spirituality, pseudo-faith, that you're thinking through imagination, I'm close with God, and try to squeeze in their heart love for God. And now, what programs do? They get together and imagine in their meditation, I'm Radha and you're Krishna. And they engage in sexual contact, in orgies. This really happened because we neglected the bona fide guide who will guide us, the transcendental science of pure devotional service. Very simple, how can someone whose process is impure understand the pure? How can someone who doesn't know, who is in the dark, can give us guidance? So what happened? They got lost in this trouble, in this material world, and now they're experiencing the fruits of their action because of not following the guidance of God. So back to the point again. The process we are trying hard to learn is to guide us one-pointedly to be successful, to achieve the goal of life. So in all scriptures, the goal of life is to love the Supreme Person, to be following and doing the will of God. So now we can check. We have now a gauge or a weighing scale. So we can check and address what we're longing for to be able to achieve closeness and pure love of God through this guidance from someone who's really loving God, bona fide spiritual master. And on the other hand, is someone who is in the dark, who is ignorant, who does not follow the system of pure devotional service and does not understand the science, but pose himself to achieve what they concoct in their mind, imagine in their mind, a relationship with God. So now they relate to their mind, and illusion or Maya have covered them. And now they're lost. So this is just an example of someone who, not someone, many of them, and in India, plenty of them. So you have to check. We are very selfish, all of us. We do things for our own. But selfishness can be transcendental when our selfishness is directed upon pleasing and doing the will of God, to please Him. We work so hard to achieve what is pleasing to Him. So, how can we do that? How can we understand that? Not from someone external, this, what they call, I cannot put it in, so I'll just read here. Hearing the revealed scriptures. According to Srila Rupa Goswami, time's up already, According to Srila Rupa Goswami, any book which gives enlightenment in the matter of advancing in devotional service is considered to be revealed scriptures. Srila Madhva Acharya also defined revealed scriptures as referring to books such as Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas, Upanishad, and Vedanta, and any other literatures written in pursuance of such revealed scriptures. So meaning, teachings written by saintly person that helps us understand and in parallel, in harmony, achieve and understand the science of devotional service being taught, given to us by our instructing spiritual master, by God Himself, are revealed scriptures that will have a positive transcendental effect upon purifying our heart and our mind. In Skanda Purana, there is a statement, a person who is constantly engaged in reading literatures enunciating the cultivation of Vaishnava devotional service is always glorious in human society. Don't you notice? Because we take it lightly and we have not considered it really that if you study the Bible is composed of 66 books written by different representatives of different followers of Lord Jesus Christ, and I don't know some others who may be followers but the followers of Jesus Christ. But don't you notice the focus is centered around the glory, the activities of Lord Jesus Christ coming to this world and assisting us through His life's example so we can understand the science factually, in reality, and through following Him, through reading the scripture like Psalm. O Lord, save me by Thy name. I will sing and praise Your name. And also in the teachings of Lord Jesus Christ, flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, nor the perishable inherit the imperishable. So we begin to see, while we are in this body, while we are in this body, we are away from the Lord. So it's better to be out of the body, with the Lord. So it points to the transcendental nature of the living entity, that you can be out of the body with the Lord, and you can also be the body and away from the Lord. But in either case, if we understand the science to connect ourselves with love for God, the science of love of God, while in this body, in this lifetime, now we can be in a transcendental environment because we are receiving this eternal science of devotional service and applying it in our life. And back to the point again, the simple process of hearing and chanting. It's very clear because who will purify us? The Supreme Purifier, Lord Krishna, because He loves us. So we stop here that the science must be understood from bona fide source, God Himself, through His confidential loving servant. If not, if we don't follow this science and receive it from someone is bona fide, true, meaning true, and disregard their authority, which is based upon doing the will of God, we now face a very, very hard world because in our dire need to find fulfillment, our energy will be misdirected, and this human form that we are in now, this machine that is under time, can be misused and wasted. We will be focusing upon the desert world that the turtle has been staying, and when the turtle tries to bite the person who will try to take away all the mud that has petrified his body and bring him, he does not. I will stay here and hold the line. But who is able to hold the line? Time and tide waits for no man. The rising and the setting of the sun reduces one's duration in this body. Look at now here in Bukidnon, they call harvest time. Now, the second batch, panguli lang, the second time. So, we experience lockdown here. January, now it's already September. And then, what will we do? If we don't take this science, the science of materialism is now prompting us again. Dashing to the snow, jingle bell, Di ba? But have you tried to recall how many Christmas have you experienced? Did it really give you fulfillment and happiness? The mind will always dictate and tells you, at the end of Christmas time, the beginning of January, which is very dull, a drag to continue again, hoping against hope. Wait for another Christmas. The mind has so many promises. So, we must apply this science to have clarity of mind and focus. That's the point. And next Monday, we will discuss the effects of the science that we are following, the symptoms. Just like when a person who is very thirsty comes in contact with water, the oasis of water, he's relieved. The farmers who have been experiencing, like for example, in Ethiopia, 7 years, 8 years, no rain. People are leaving the land. And it rains, they experience relief. So this oasis in our heart of water has dried up because our focus and meditation to feel and contain what's in our heart is the desert sun. So now it's up to you. What will you do with your life? To follow this science given to us by the bona fide spiritual master and God Himself? Or will we follow this next science of materialism based upon ignorance and falsity and not enduring? The spirit soul is enduring life. Material science is not enduring because it's relative and temporary. The living entity is eternal, enduring. But the work we do with this body is not enduring. But it can be eternal when our heart is dovetailed and in harmony with the world of love and relationship with God. That is the science of devotional service and pure transcendental meditation, that while even in this world, our heart is an oasis and an experience of the sage, that our mind is calm and we are clear-headed with clarity in our mind because our heart, our love is now sheltered upon that relationship of loving surrender with our eternal lover, our eternal friend, our eternal master, sweet Lord Krishna. Haribol, Namaste.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa Navine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prestayate. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sada Gaurata Vrinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasari Gaurata Vrinda.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna,
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna,
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Haribo Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama
Haribo Krishna,
Madana Mohana
Haribo Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Haribo Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana
Haribo Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama
Siddhaswarupananda
Krishna,
Paramahamsa
Krishna,
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prestaya Te